I've come to realize is we all are incredibly powerful beings, but we have unconscious behaviors that become energetic leaks. Being the good girl, the one who doesn't create conflict, the one who is so nice to be around and always makes people happy, was day by day draining me of my life force energy, leaking my power every time I said yes when my body was saying no. I am so aware of what a no in my body feels like because I experienced it every time I would give in instead of speak my truth. It felt like this immediate drop in my stomach and a tightening in my chest, a hint of disappointment that was overpowered with fear and anxiety of what might happen if I don't say yes or agree or get on board with what the other person wanted.
Welcome to the Anniston Riekstins Show. This space is created for the woman coming home to her voice, her power, her way. For the woman remembering who she really is, beneath the noise, beneath the roles, beneath the world's expectations. I'm Anniston, transformational guide, spiritual teacher, best-selling author, and creator, here to walk beside you, to share stories, wisdom, and energy that guide you back home. Here, we lead from the inside out. We create from overflow, not hustle. We rise not by becoming someone else, but by remembering who we've always been. This isn't just a podcast. It's a homecoming. So let's dive in.
Welcome back to the Anniston Riekstins Show. At the time of recording this episode, it is January 2026, and it's a 2 universal month and a 1 universal year of new beginnings. This month is a preparation month, ladies. A month that's going to help you plug the energetic leaks, bring awareness to where your foundation is still shaky, and to show you the behaviors that will throw you off your game in what promises to be an incredibly fast-paced, action-packed year of stepping into your new identity. We are all being asked to reorganize this year. How we perceive, how we identify, how we love, how we work. And it's starting at the deepest level because nothing changes until you change. So I've recorded some bonus episodes that I'm dropping to help you prepare, to bring awareness and to context to what some of you might be experiencing and feeling right now, especially as it relates to nervous system regulation and, more importantly, dysregulation. I didn't even know what nervous system dysregulation was, and I know I'm not alone there. In order to fully understand what being regulated looks and feels like, you first have to understand what dysregulation looks like for you. What are your dysregulated behaviors? Because there's a pattern, I can guarantee it. And once you understand your pattern, you can start to bring conscious choice to the party. And instead of reacting the same way, do something different. This is what breaks the cycle. So let's start with a trip down memory lane to dysregulated Anna. Let's go way back to when I was a little girl, when I was around my older sister who was sad or upset because she wanted what I had, I would give it to her so that she could stop feeling sad and upset because I didn't feel comfortable when she was uncomfortable. My mom would say to me, Anna, you don't have to give this to her. This is yours. But I would say, it's okay. She really wants it. And I'd rather her have it so she can be happy again. This was the foundation laying of dysregulated people-pleasing behavior that lasted for, well, all the way into my adult life. If you're a fellow people pleaser, listen up, because the actual cause can be sneaky. When the nervous system feels uncertain or unstable around those expressing negative emotions, it will lead the mind to overcompensate with actions, i.e. control mechanisms, to re-stabilize your environment. You might think, well, that's not so bad. But the pattern it created was for me to so easily give in and not stand up for what I want, need, desire, because my sense of safety was in making sure others had what they desired. It was ranked as higher priority in my subconscious. Like I could deal with the sting of disappointment of not having what I deeply desire more than someone else being upset with me. This led to being that friend everyone loves, the yes friend, who never pushes back, is easygoing, agreeable, non-confrontational, really, really nice. Yep, that's how people describe me, including myself. I was never the friend who sat and complained about my life, shared my deepest fears, my worries, concerns, sadness. I thought it was because I never felt those things, but really it was because I never felt safe to share them. That would make me imperfect, and that wasn't safe. I needed to earn the love, earn my place in the popular crowd, And I was a great listener. Everyone came to me to share their stories, to get counsel, to feel better. And I felt so validated in that, being needed by everyone. But if you would have sat them down and asked them intimate questions about me, they wouldn't have been able to tell you. So after high school, I drifted from all of my friends and stopped talking to them altogether, as if that part of my life never existed. And that's because I didn't ever let myself fully connect with them. I never let them in. So it wasn't hard to cut that cord and walk away. This behavior also bled into my romantic relationships early on and led to being the best girlfriend in the world. The one that was totally fine doing what he wanted all the time. The one whose likes magically mirrored those of whomever she was dating at the time, like the runaway bride vibes. The one who would come in hot, contorting herself to be everything he ever dreamed of in a woman. And then by the time I would hit that 2-year mark, I would somehow feel like this just wasn't going to work. I would pull back. I would start to distance myself. I do believe that was in large part because my destiny was to meet and marry my twin flame in my late 20s. But I now know it was also because you can only perpetuate a lie, wear a mask for so long, until eventually your wounds and inner child start to shine through. And I didn't feel safe not being perfect. I unconsciously didn't feel like I would be accepted, wounds and all. So I would leave before the real me was outed and left many confused, broken hearts in my wake. They wouldn't even see it coming because I was so good at hiding what was going on within. Then fast forward to when I got married. I'll never forget on one of Rudy and I's first dates, which felt a little more like an interview, as we were both sensing the importance of each other, this deep remembrance, and we were both trying to figure out, is this for real? Rudy told me that he had started a business with his brother in Cincinnati, Ohio. And he planned to move just outside of the city to be near his brother as soon as he was done with his current work contract. And he asked if I would be opposed to moving. And of course I said, absolutely not. I'd go wherever. Before meeting Rudy, I had left a long-term relationship and I was making plans with my best friend to start a business, to travel together. My dream was to inspire, motivate, to spend time in beautiful places and spaces. And what really strikes me as interesting when I look back, I didn't even mention those things to Rudy. I didn't advocate for myself. I didn't even ask if he would consider fitting into my life. I immediately, unconsciously morphed into the pleaser and said, yes, Rudy, whatever you want. Please know, I have no regrets about marrying Rudy, buying our first home together in Florence, Kentucky, joining his business and working together for the time that we did. This isn't about regret. This is about pattern recognition. And the people pleasing was my response to dysregulation. When there was a chance of disappointment or loss of love, respect, acceptance from another, I collapsed. And it continued into my professional life. Being the best employee, always saying the right thing, using my superpower of feeling into people so that I always knew what to say to be in their favor. And while that might look like power from the outside looking in, on the inside, I felt weak. I felt spineless. I felt powerless. I was offered promotion opportunities where I would be leading people. And I made excuses for why I didn't want that. It generally looked like, well, I know this isn't my life's work, or I don't plan on being here long, so I'd rather just stay in the role that I'm in. What I really meant was the idea of leading people makes me feel uncomfortable and unsafe because I don't trust myself to actually lead, to actually have my own opinions and to lead others with those opinions. To not cave and collapse when someone I lead is unhappy or disagrees. We talk a lot about power as if it's something you have or you don't. And what I've come to realize is we all are incredibly powerful beings, but we have unconscious behaviors that become energetic leaks. So we never get a taste of our true power. Being the good girl, the one who doesn't create conflict, the one who is so nice to be around and always makes people happy, was day by day draining me of my life force energy, leaking my power every time I said yes when my body was saying no. What's interesting is I am so aware of what a no in my body feels like because I experience it every time I would give in instead of speak my truth. It felt like this immediate drop in my stomach and a tightening in my chest, a hint of disappointment that was overpowered with fear and anxiety of what might happen if I don't say yes or agree or get on board with what the other person wanted. Hey love, let's take a quick pause here. If you've been bouncing between ideas, second guessing yourself, or just feeling burnout trying to build a business, the way everyone else says you should, well, Called to Create is for you. This 10-month experience will help you upgrade your internal operating system so that you can build from clarity, flow, and feminine power, not hustle, pressure, or push. You'll walk away knowing how to create anything your way and to keep momentum for life. 2026 is a fresh start. Let's build what you came here to do, your divine mission. Links in the show notes and doors open February 2026. Now back to the episode. I remember trying to give a review to an employee, and this particular team member had a lot of room for growth. There were behaviors I had witnessed that I knew would hold her back from elevating, and she desperately wanted to elevate. But I experienced so much resistance to being fully honest with her. The fear that she would be upset or that she would somehow blame me, that I didn't. I essentially told her she was doing a great job. She left happy, so I felt happy. And then my boss came to me a few weeks later to let me know there was a position opening up. One I knew my team member would absolutely want to be considered for. But when I mentioned her name, my boss said no. And she listed all the behaviors I had not mentioned in the review as reasons for not elevating her. And I felt the weight of the world that day. Oh my gosh, I felt like I had robbed her of this opportunity, that my need to be liked had gotten in the way of my ability to lead and grow and develop people. That was such an important moment for me, a moment where there was this slight tear in the scaffolding of the illusion that I had been living. It felt like a wound had just been torn open. There's that saying, the light enters where the wound is. And I started to see my behavior as toxic instead of as good. I would love to tell you I changed overnight, but I didn't. It took years for me to get this people-pleasing behavior under control. It's one thing to know you have people-pleasing tendencies and a complete other thing to know how to transform those behaviors. I know I certainly spent a long time looking outside of myself for the answers, thinking if I read one more book or listen to one more podcast episode that it would magically change me. And while all that information did serve its purpose, it wasn't until I started to descend into my body that I found the answer and the change that I was seeking. So here's what I've learned. Your inner commitment and desire to keeping everyone around you happy, for being the fixer of everyone's issues, for being agreeable, nice, the good girl, is because you haven't fully accepted all of yourself. For me, I had unconscious beliefs that my negative emotions were bad. So I repressed them. I hid them. I shoved them behind closed inner doors because they felt scary and out of control to feel, much less to express. So because of that, when someone else was experiencing and expressing negative emotion, I felt triggered. I became dysregulated, but the way that I had to learn to regulate was people-pleasing. So yes, we've been using regulation techniques before we even knew what nervous systems were. The problem is, the techniques we've been using to regulate can be destructive instead of constructive. So the first step for me was allowing myself to actually feel. Not mentally process what I think an emotion should feel like, but like really feel. I started naming the emotion, not identifying with it like I am angry or I am sad. Just sitting with it, reconnecting with it, and asking it what it wanted me to know. And to my surprise, they spoke back. I would journal every morning, and these emotions that were activated within me told me stories. Stories of how I would abandon myself, how I would break my own heart, not honor my own guidance and intuition. And once they had said their piece, they would dissipate. I could literally feel space created where there was once pressure or pain. And I created space in my daily routine to feel again. And what I realized is I could open up all of those inner doors where I had hidden emotions. I could see them and feel them and still be okay. I realized it wasn't only safe to do so, it was liberating to do so. And my commitment to doing this flipped the script from I avoid feeling fear, anger, sadness, anxiety to I welcome it because I know there's a gift waiting within it. Then I had to shift my response to other people's emotion. This took some time too. So Rudy is the opposite of me. He allows himself to feel and he expresses it daily. I had to practice not immediately trying to fix his bad mood or coach him out of a negative headspace. I would have to breathe and remind myself he gets to experience the gift of his negative emotion too. What appears as someone experiencing a challenge is really growth in disguise. And that's something to be celebrated. Then I had to evolve how I approach the outside world, like my friends, my colleagues. Thankfully, I had magnetized some incredible humans who all demonstrated total honesty and a willingness to advocate for what they wanted, and they were the perfect role models. So I paid attention. I spent time with them. I allowed them to be my permission slip and to model them. And it worked. I noticed that I started leading, sharing my thoughts, ideas, desires without worrying about or needing everyone to agree with me. I started calling my children out on behavioral issues that I otherwise would have made excuses for and let go because I didn't want to make waves. The opposite of people pleasing is self-leadership. And self-leadership is required to regulate your energy. It is required to fulfill your purpose. It is required for living a joyful, authentic, fulfilling life. You are a sovereign being. You have a path that you are meant to walk, and you have gifts that you are absolutely meant to share. But you're going to need every ounce of your inner power and inner authority to do this. And it's never too late to start plugging those energetic leaks by using yes and no, by letting your body guide you. I believe we always have an opportunity to be born again. In fact, every morning we wake up, we get to be born again. And it's okay to let parts of our identity, to let them go that are way past their expiration date. For me, being a people pleaser kept me safe for a time. And it did serve a purpose, but eventually it became a major obstacle to my forward movement and to my experiencing my gifts, my power, my authentic nature, my creativity. And if you can relate to this and you know you still have some work to do here, know that you're not hearing this by accident. It's time, sister. The doors are still open to register for my 10-month embodiment container called To Create. I received the inspiration for this container because I know that collectively, what we're all being asked to do is to move from knowing the information to being it. We're being asked to stop creating from urgency and to instead approach our purpose, our mission from a relaxed, clear, regulated state. We're being asked to stop outsourcing our power and instead get really comfortable connecting with and trusting our intuition to move us forward into uncharted territory, to create our paths forward. We're being asked to alchemize fear as it comes up, which it absolutely will, and to use it as fuel to boldly and courageously share our voice, knowing there are people who are meant to hear it. We are being asked to honor our passion, what lights us up, and to create with that passion, knowing that how something is created is simultaneously how it's received. We are being asked to remember how to access our inner reserves of creative energy from our lower energy centers and to release the shame and repressed emotion that keeps it stuck and leaves us feeling unclear and confused. We're being asked to prioritize heart coherence, to understand that our greatest gift to humanity is our energetic state. And we are being asked to move from chasing, hustling, forcing into magnetizing with ease, knowing that expressing authentically and showing up as your most powerful self is your strategy. And as women, we are being asked to remember that we carry the codes of creation and we are created by our creator to create. And this is the year you get to fully, irrevocably repattern your operating system and step into your creatorship fully, unapologetically, magnetically. This container isn't for everyone, and I've limited the size to 13 women. If you are feeling the pull, if this feels aligned deep down, trust that. And I'll drop a link for you to learn more and apply in the show notes. It would be my greatest honor to walk alongside you through your initiation back to you this year. I love you, sisters, and I'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you for being here, beautiful soul. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love for you to pass it along to another woman who might need these words today. And if you feel called, it would mean so much if you would take a moment to rate and review this podcast. It's one of the best ways to support this work and help these messages reach more women who are ready to remember who they are. And if you'd like to stay connected or share what's landing for you, come find me over on Instagram. I'd love to meet you there. Until next time, keep trusting your rhythm. Keep honoring your voice and keep becoming the woman you were always meant to be.